This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. I'm Lucy Wernick, the ICG Manager. For today's webinar, we are delighted to welcome Dan Parker-Smith, Matt Gibbs, Nick Bonney, and Tom Woodnutt, our 4 finalists of last year's Awards for Independent Consultants. In this webinar, they'll take us through a brief summary of their submissions and help us better understand what it was about their work that appealed to the award judges so much. Feel free to post your questions in the chat box as we go along, and there'll also be a chance to answer questions and ask them to some or all of our finalists at the end. We are grateful for Maiden Surveys, an MIS group company, for sponsoring this webinar. Maiden Surveys has specialised in online quantitative market research for over 20 years through proprietary data collection solutions. Their clients include major market research companies, communications agencies, end clients, etc. MIS uses their own proprietary panels, which are all triple opt-in for all their quantitative and qualitative projects. So before I hand over to our finalists, here are some more events and webinars from the ICG that you may be interested in. Please visit the ICG website for more information, and don't forget that we are able to offer great value sponsorship for each of these. Sponsorship normally costs £120 for a lot of exposure on our website, mailers and social media, and of course on the day. So if you are interested in that, please contact me afterwards. So now I'm going to hand over to our first finalist. We're doing this in first name alphabetical order. So that's over to Dan Parker-Smith from The Word Is Out. Okay, Dan, I will give you presentership rights once I can see you.
Yeah, thanks, Lucy.
1 second.
Great. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen now. Just 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just get it running. Is that working?
It is. Thank you.
Great. Okay. I just have to move this out of the way. Okay. Right. So yeah, I'll just talk through this really quick. So basically, a little bit about us. So there's myself and my business partner, Roseanne, at The Word Is Out. We are a qual agency, and we use video to both conduct and deliver research stories. So we combine our skills in qualitative research, remote ethnography, all that fun stuff, and the best quality video we can do, which is my kind of like skill set. I come from like video industry, kind of storytelling, post-production, documentary filmmaking, all that kind of stuff. The project that we submitted for consideration was for a global branding and design agency called 1HQ in summer 2020, and it was an in-depth look at how people manage gut health to find opportunities for new products for 1HQ's client, which was like a big household, like blue chip kind of company. So the project needed to clarify market positioning, NPD strategy for the next 5 years. Unfortunately, I can't show you any videos today because it's all confidential, but I'll talk through the methodology that we did and a bit about the process as we go. So the main kind of challenge for us was working alongside this agency that had their own internal researchers, but to fit alongside their workflow and deliverables. It was all during COVID, so everything had to be completely remote, and the work needed to be delivered solely as a video. So there was no report or anything like that. It was just videos, and it needed to combine strategic research with these scientific innovation platforms and all this kind of stuff. But the main thing was to showcase the consumer authentically and give that, I guess, emotive context to those gaps in the market. So we like to think about how we do things like here, like I mentioned before, about using video to conduct and deliver. So the conduct is the methodology. So what we did was we recruited people across 3 markets, UK, USA, Australia, and we screened them to find people suitable for using video. So we looked for regular social media users, for example. Once we'd done all of that kind of stuff, we also had various video calls with them and coached them how to best capture this footage, because this was when remote ethnography was really taking a peak, and we felt it was important to build strong relationships with respondents on camera, as people were kind of used to the video calls and things like that. And between the two of us, we gathered, as it says there, 300 video clips from across the globe. We had about 7 hours of insight to kind of digest. So in terms of actually trying to deliver that, we compressed those 7 hours into 9 short films, which were about a few minutes each. And each of those 9 short films covered a sort of, I guess, opportunity area, so that our client 1HQ could look at producing, you know, different strategies. It's sort of, and all of the videos that we did showcased attitudes, behaviors, key meals, and reactions to design concepts, and accompanied their kind of very detailed analysis. It was really, really successful, and we got some great feedback from the client and 1HQ's client, which was really great. Yeah, I guess on reflection, it was a really great project for us, but we felt like it was quite a turning point for us as a business. It allowed us to push ourselves in a way that we hadn't before, and that's why we wanted to enter it for the MRS award. I guess it kind of changed the way we think about doing research. I think so much of the time the focus is the report and the written word, and a video can sometimes be seen as like the cherry on top or the extra thing that the client might or might not want. But I think we use this project to really showcase that as long as there's a foundation of really good research, the delivery output can be as creative as you want to make it. And through doing this MRS submission, we found that even just putting the submission together, never mind getting the finalist position, really helped solidify that confidence to us when we're approaching clients, so that when we've got that way of thinking, we can entertain ideas that are a bit more outside the box and things like that, which clients obviously love to hear. So yeah, there's a little bit about our project there. Thanks for listening, and we're hoping to showcase some more awesome actual great video deliverables soon. I hope that gave you a bit of a taster anyway. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Dan. Just a reminder, if you've got any questions as our presenters are speaking, put them in the chat, but we'll deal with questions at the end. So thanks very much, Dan. So now over to Matt Gibbs. Matt, make you presenter.
Hello, can you hear me there?
Yes.
Excellent. Right, I'll share my screen. So I'll just jump straight into it. Thank you, Dan. And thank you to the ICG. It's been brilliant to be a part of this award. I'm just sharing a video here of a how-to, which is a more in-depth discussion on what we did, how we did it, a bit of a knowledge share, and that was for the ICG webinar. I promise you I'm not an avid Oasis fan. I listened to one track yesterday, and apparently now I'm a super fan. But yeah, so that's the video. You can go to the Base Price YouTube channel or do that. I mean, this project was designed to show how anyone can run transparent sentiment analysis on large unstructured text data, any kind of text data, and without a black box. The video shows how to do that. We chose to access text from Twitter's database via their free API and track the COVID conversation. And it's an ongoing project that updates every week. And currently we've accumulated 3.2 million tweets. We use the, you can access the visual here. If you just type in Tableau Public, search for Matt Gibbs, you get all of our examples there. You can click on the tracking the COVID sentiment. And so we've used Husett sentiment scoring at the top. We use the NRC emotion lexicon, machine learning tags, and text recognition, and the how-tos are all in that video. Or you can get in touch for any more kind of knowledge share. So we only have a few minutes. Let's just whiz through this viz to try and share some of the content, which is all free to all. It's fast becoming it's a document that which tracks the conversation of one of the most significant things to ever happen to humanity. So we're really pretty proud of that. there's the line. If it comes below the line with Suzette, it's a dictionary lookup system. It's less positive or more negative, and if above the line, it's more positive. You can see early on September 2020, we still have Trump on Twitter. There's a lot of conversation. Oh, sorry, down the bottom here is our tweet topics. It's text recognition, and we're tracking it along the bottom. So a lot of negativity here. Trump drops off. I think he gets banned around then, and the vaccines pick up. Conversations around vaccines, and then we hit the FDA approves the first single shot vaccine. A lot of correlation, not causation, but we can see correlated a huge peak in sentiment. Everyone was like, well, it's going to save us all. But then humanity gets a bit sort of used to it all, and the World Health Organization calls the Delta variant a global concern, and sentiment starts to drop down, and we can see Delta trending just here. If we click that out of the blue, Delta comes from nowhere, and then a massive dip as the UK announces it's going to lift all restrictions. And so if we go from tweet topics to tweet emotions, this is the NRC emotion lexicon, which categorizes text into 8 to 10 emotions. We can see a fall in trust and a rise in fear and anger at the same time. And this is all being drawn free from the API via Twitter's database. If we go back to tweet topics, why is this rising up here? Well, the FDA has now recommended the Pfizer booster, and everybody's feeling really positive about vaccines until suddenly, out of the blue again, we get Omicron, and that completely dominates the conversation. It's gone from nothing to the conversation. Now, two things I'd like to point out here. One is that social media was talking about this a couple of days before all of the papers and the TV got involved. So it's a good lead example. But also look at just human nature, how quickly that drops off, right? Omicron was everywhere, but we quickly forget, and now it's down. And so what's happening now? Well, we've got a rise in the discussion about pandemic. And why is that? Well, I'm not saying, you know, there's causation, but there's certainly a lot of correlation between the concept of pandemic and Ukraine. If you go into track the last 7 days, you can see the issues of Ukraine coming into the conversation. We also built a snapshot for people, so if you want to see overall the general things that people were talking about and the emotions they were feeling at any particular time period, you can just filter down. Let's go right to the beginning. You can see you know, Trump, deaths, pandemic, you know, the vaccine was down there. If we move potentially up to the beginning of December, whack, the conversation is changed entirely with Omicron leading the way. And then if we look right on today, we can see the Ukraine, we see Ukraine being a part of that conversation. So there's a couple of things there. Yes, it is about the content, and it's an incredible database to be able to share. And thanks again to the ICG for enabling us to share that. It's also about trying to enable people to do this for themselves. We're actually developing an Excel-based app, which anyone, you know, we're going to release it soon. So if you're interested, get in touch. Maybe you've got qualitative interview transcripts that you want to apply this stuff to. You can use that app and it will generate you tables. Maybe you've got tags with like demographics. You want to have a quick forest eye view of what's going on in your vast text database. You can do that too. This is what it's about. You know, we saw a lot of these kind of tools, and particularly social media monitoring tools and sentiment analysis being like behind a paywall, and we want to try and get these tools into the hands of everybody, whether they're quant or qual. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and again, please submit to the ICG award. It's a fantastic leveler. It doesn't cost anything, and you'll be able to communicate to the whole industry and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. I know you can't see my face, but I'm smiling there. That's a great plug for the award. Well, lots of questions for you, but I'll hold back till the end. So thank you. And over to Nick now.
Thanks, Lucy.
Nick Bonney.
Share screen. I think you can see that now.
Yeah.
Great. So you can see, this is our expert brand consultant for this project. So we had to bring on expert resource. Here he is. So we're going to talk to you about the project that we did for Doodlebone. And Doodlebone are a dog accessory company. So they sell collars, leads, and harnesses. And what they were trying to do was to look at how they could extend their brand from what had been a traditionally trade-focused brand into more of a consumer proposition. And I don't know how many of you have seen in the press, there's been a huge surge in dog ownership over the past 2 years, particularly amongst younger demographics, as they've realised that the thing that was stopping them from having a dog before was the fact they were in the office full time, and now they can actually juggle their home and work life and be able to have a dog. So what we loved about this project is actually it was a program of work. So they came to us originally actually and said they wanted to understand issues amongst the trade. And what we were able to do was to work with them to reshape that brief a little bit and balance out between the consumer side and the trade side. So the first thing we actually did was pipe through a whole load of hashtags into a tool called Sugarbox, and that enabled us to look at Instagram posts and tweets, really try and understand the way that people talked about their dog. And we used very rational hashtags, so things that brands would talk about, like leads or collars. And then we use much more emotional ones, which kind of consumer language, so things like walkies, doggy day out, all that sort of stuff. We then did a very short qualitative phase amongst owners, really to try and highlight some of the blind spots that actually the trade tend to have. So quite often they don't know what they don't know. And then we went out and spoke to both existing Doodlebone stockists and non-stockists in garden centres, outdoor stores, and independent pet shops. And then finally, what we wanted to do to help them target their new range is we ran a clustering on their transactional data. So this wasn't research, this was taking all of their sales and product SKU information to try and say, where should they target these potential ranges? So what type of stores would be more likely to buy certain types of products? So I suppose one of the interesting things is, whilst we see all of the emotional engagement that people have with their dog, actually the category itself is currently really low involvement. So generally, this big contradiction is the heart of the category. On the one hand, people love their dog, it's part of the family, but actually, if you speak to them about what brand of collar or lead they've just bought, the vast majority of people don't know. From the quant work we've done subsequently, brand awareness across all brands is tiny, and generally what happens is the channel dominates, right? I just go on Amazon, I go on eBay, or more and more, you go to Pets at Home. Similarly, from a trade point of view, they're not really commercial businesses quite often, generally small 1 or 2 person bands. They've got into running a pet shop because, do you know what, they wanted to work for themselves and they quite like dogs or cats, and therefore some of the decision making they make around what products they range are not commercially led, but actually I only want 1 delivery a week, or the DPD man turns up on Tuesday and that's more convenient for me. And what we found was this whole kind of direct to consumer side that was springing up on Instagram was a complete blind spot to lots of people who have many, many years in the pet trade. And so what we were trying to do was to highlight the sense that the growth was coming from younger owners. And what we loved about this, I suppose, was that the social side particularly really helped to bring home this difference that we saw within the category, that the way that people present smaller breeds is very different to the way that people present larger breeds. So you can see here a whole bunch of kind of, whether it's cockapoos down and Frenchies, generally it's all cutesy, quite often it's indoors, it's lots of patterns, it's coats. Whereas if I show you bigger dogs, generally it's outdoors, they're very active, they're splashing through the sea or they're running through autumn leaves, and that's the way that we think about those kind of dogs. And that was good in that, on the one hand, it reinforced the insight that Doodlebone had about the category. The challenge was we need to help them understand how they would position it. So having spoken to the trade and got the insight, we then went into the segmentation phase. And what we took was very much a kind of hypothesis-led approach. So given that we knew that we were trying to understand where to target a more active product and where to target a more style-led product, is we looked for the variables within their data that might help us with that. So some of that is about their engagement with the brand, so how often they ordered and how frequently they ordered, and broadly the breadth of SKUs that they ordered within the portfolio. And then beyond that, I suppose we wanted to understand, were they looking at particular active products already? So there's a product that Doodlebone have called Boomerang, for example, or are they already stores that are ordering fleeces or patterns, and therefore do we think they're more likely to take a style-led product? And so what we were able to do was to use what started as qualitative research into a kind of, if you like, a commercial map of their retailers. So what's the average revenue they get per store? How many retailers are within each segment? And what we've done is then taken that through, and I'll skip through this quickly because there's some confidential stuff on the left around potential new products. What are the stores that we think are top priority to target? And so essentially we've got a portfolio strategy within within each segment of the retail estate. So is it just all three ranges? Is it range A and range B, or is it range A and range C in the last piece? Subsequent to that, and I'm just going to say one thing, is we've been doing a lot of work with them through an online community, looking at their web experience. And I suppose one of the tragic things over the last few weeks is I was doing a debrief a couple of weeks ago that was meant to be to their digital team about user experience on their website. Their developers are actually based in Kharkiv. So surprise, surprise, they have far more important things to do than be listening to me talking about user journey on the website. Doodlebone have done a great thing, donated a whole load of dog leads and harnesses for abandoned dogs out in Ukraine. They have a fundraising page, so I'm just going to do a shameless plug for that. In terms of a shameless plug for the ICG award, as Matt's just excellently articulated, I suppose it's one of the few occasions we have to kind of punch at an equal weight with big agencies. It doesn't cost you any money to do it. My kind of view on it is, why wouldn't you do it from that perspective? Because it is a great chance to kind of stand shoulder to shoulder with agencies that have big marketing budgets. And I think there's some really fantastic work that I see, certainly from members of the ICG. Lucy, I nearly did the red button thing there. I won't leave the call. Remind me how I come off screen share, sorry.
I just hand it over, you don't do anything.
There we go. Sorry.
Yeah,
that's
brilliant.
Yeah.
And so just to tell people that Nick was highly commended for that in this award, and thank you very much. That was really, really interesting. And last but not least, to our winner of the award, Tom Woodnut. So let's hand over to Tom. You're on mute, Tom.
I'm just trying to get the thing shared. Is that?
Yeah, that's all good.
Great, thank you. So can you see the full screen there?
We can.
Okay, brilliant. Well, yeah, thanks very much. And this is just about a project for Virgin Pure, which was a new category. It's a distilled water machine that you plug into the mains, which people don't really think of. They normally use jugs, or they get a filter on their taps. And there were three challenges for this brand, this new brand. It was about trying to get people to just think of it, be aware of it, and consider it. And also the expense of it. It was a subscription. You have to pay about 11 quid each month, and then it's about just under 300 quid to buy the machine up front. So it's quite hard to get people to commit to that, and for them to see the value. So that was the other big challenge. And then also understanding the consumer experience to try and retain customers more. So I'll just quickly show you what it is. This is just a quick 30-second demo, so you know what it is. So the big challenge was really there were so many different things they could have talked about, from environmental benefits to health, from purity, or just the family drinking more water, or convenience, all these different things. So we started off with some in-home ethnography, and from that it became clear that actually taste was the most unifying benefit to focus on. Then we did some UX lab testing a couple of months later to look at the website, because they had a lot of people dropping off when it came to that paying page. And then finally, we did some online co-creation to work out customer experience, kind of retention strategies as well. So this ran across 2 years, these three phases. And yeah, just one of the main, examples really of what came out of that first ethnography piece, and how taste is the thing that really unified everyone. And it just helped them focus their advertising on a single benefit. And then phase two, when we changed the website, the main thing there was reframing the cost to be actual an investment. So you can see how with Virgin Pure compared to other alternatives like the filter jugs, you're actually going to save money over time because you're not having to pay for so many replacements. And also we got them to really extol the benefits of filters, which made them feel less like this annoying subscription you have to pay for and more like an investment in their health. And made that care plan feel like it was a lot more value, and just simplified the whole proposition. And then sales went up by 50% as well after they made those changes, which I think helped prove the value of the research. And then finally, we did this online co-creation across 6 days. So we looked at things like their water habits, how they justify subscriptions. It was all about understanding that willingness to pay. How do they feel about the Virgin brand? We got them to do collages. The Virgin Pure brand in particular, hooks and barriers to subscribing. And then just the whole purchase journey. We recruited people based on their net promoter score. So we had happy and unhappy customers, looked at different parts of the journey, shared some of our ideas for retention, and then also got them to create their own ideas too. And then looked at different touch points as well. So that then fed through to retention. And generally, we realized that the more they use the machine, the more they feel like it's a worthy investment. And so a lot of the comms became about getting them to use it for more things, like having bottles out of home or for cooking. And another big insight was just this fact that they're really kind of lovers of water. That was kind of an idea that came out of that research. And from that, they held a whole new content strategy around the Purist, which was all about promoting the value of pure water, basically. And also explaining why get it. So that's a kind of a quick overview of what we did. And in terms of the benefit of doing these awards, I mean, like the others said, I definitely think it's always worth submitting. There's nothing to lose. And I personally think like being nominated or being a winner is kind of the same marketing benefit because no one really reads the small print. It's all just a great thing to be associated with. It's like a social proof for clients to say, you can trust me. It's kind of an easy way to win trust. So definitely worth going for it.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, so if anybody wants to put their cameras on, please do. We're going to open up the floor for questions. I know, Sally, you sent one in to Dan. How do you cut down 7 hours of video to just a few 1-minute clips? What process do you go through when analysing video footage and data?
Oh, okay, thanks, Sally. It's kind of for us, it's a bit of we've got it down to a gradual thing over time, but the main thing I think is I guess there's a few things that we try and do. It's not like a kind of at the end of the process kind of thing. So the first thing is like when we're doing the moderation, just sort of trying to have as much hands-on time with that as possible, so you can spot clips that are really good or not very good, straight off the bat. I think waiting until like you've got time to like analyze it at the end is maybe a bit too late. Like we almost try and carve out that moderation time as like exclusive time to really just like live and breathe all of the clips that we're getting. And then when we get all of that, we categorize every single clip, and then we just quickly mark good, bad, all of that. And then from that, then we will just watch it. And sometimes we can watch it at full speed. Sometimes we watch it a little faster. We've got some software that we use to edit, which we can watch things on without changing the pitch, so everyone doesn't sound like chipmunks, but we can listen through for the insight quicker. So if we've got like a 5-minute clip, we can watch it in a couple of minutes. So it's just things like that, really. And then the cataloging thing is a key thing, because then when you get to the edit and the client turns around and goes, actually, I don't want this clip. Have we got anyone talking about the price of a toaster or something? I don't know. You can be like, okay, cool. And then we've already got that catalog where we can quickly go, right, here's this. So it's a very gradual thing, but there's a lot of things that we can do along the process to kind of mitigate those areas where you would usually spend a lot of time going and trying to find things. Hope that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. So for 7 hours of video, how long will it take you to get through that analysis process to the bit where you've got a limited number of very pertinent clips?
Well, when we're doing I guess it depends, because when we're doing the edit, it's quite a gradual thing. So we'll often do like maybe like three edits gradually. So we'll chip it down. Like when we were working with this client who wasn't necessarily like the brand, it was like the agency, we would give them a longer version and then we would cut and cut. So it wouldn't necessarily suddenly go from 7 hours to a 1 minute video. It's a very gradual thing, but I guess to watch through 7 hours, it's still like going to be a lot of time, so probably a day. But like, you know, that's still good time to spend on it's effectively analysis. And because we're kind of producing usually just a video as a deliverable, we find it's good time to spend. It's the same time that you would spend, you know, really crafting some really good charts. We think that it's the same use of time, really. Hope that helps us all.
Thank you. Any other questions? I've got one for Matt, if I can jump in while people are thinking, which is how do you or did you use all that data? Have you said, you know, are you sharing it?
Well, yeah, the Tableau visual is public, so everybody can access it. That's why we did a historical view and a 7-day view and a snapshot view. You can also go in there and see a free text search. So if that topic of conversation is of interest, you can type anything into the free text search and get the last 7 days tweets about that particular topic. And I think beyond what it is, which is a growing and historical document of the COVID conversation on Twitter, it's also an example of how anybody can do this kind of techie stuff. And if you want to get your hands dirty, you don't have to pay lots of money. If you want to pay a little bit of money, then we'll be releasing a tool soon, Excel based. But you know, that's basically the concept. Is we can do this. This is a major human event. Let's try and contribute to the knowledge pot.
And do you know the extent to which it's been used then?
Well, we've had 1,000 views of the visual. We've done a number of different LinkedIn videos, but if anybody has any other connections and they feel it could be relevant, we've got the database, we've got the visual, so if you want to distribute that, feel free. And if anybody's got any other questions, if you want to collaborate in any other way, get in touch. We're open to, you know, free work if it's something to do with this particular topic. You know, if we can help people understand what the whole world is going through in some tiny little way, great, let's do it.
Brilliant, thank you. Any other questions?
Sorry, just a quick one for Matt. Just wondering if you've tried to contact any government departments to see whether they're interested in monitoring sentiment versus everything that's going on, whether it be, I mean, in the past it would have been Brexit, then COVID, now it's what's going on in Ukraine. But sounds to me as though it would be a very useful thing to be able to monitor public opinion.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
A business opportunity.
Oh, well, no, I think it's a great idea to even just get it under their noses. If anybody finds it of value, that's brilliant for us.
Brilliant. Any other questions from anyone? You can type them in. Just scanning the screen. I've got one more for Dan. Sorry, I'm jumping in because, but feel free to share your questions as well. Dan, about the interactive workshop, was that all remote as well?
Yeah, we did the whole thing remote. So we delivered they used this software called Miro, which I hadn't used before, but I feel like it's kind of gained a bit of momentum since I heard it used then. But essentially, it was delivered to stakeholders worldwide, and the videos that we kind of produced were part of this. So they had like, so the videos that we did were sort of almost at the top. So everyone would watch that video for that potential segment, you know, of NPD. and then they would sort of put like little post-it notes around like certain bits, or they could time code like, oh, this clip's really good and things like that. So it was interesting to see our videos kind of used that way. But yeah, it was all interactive. We didn't meet anyone. I still haven't met any of my clients like from that from that project.
Brilliant. Final call. Any questions? No? I'm sure our finalists will be open to questions if they come to you. And obviously we will, this goes out to everybody listening to this recording after today as well. I hope I'm right in saying you'll be open. If people have questions, they can email you. So it just goes for me to, oh, Dan, no questions, but thank you for a great few talks. Well done to all the finalists. Thank you, Dan Young. So thank you so much for your time, for finalists. You've all been brilliant. Thank you for everybody attending, and hope to see you all at our next webinar. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.